Our next speaker is to speak to the essence of what was done 233 years ago today outside that courthouse in Philadelphia. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to our Independence Day Tea Party stage. Now, ladies and gentlemen, to talk about our freedoms, ladies and gentlemen, the Libertarian Party of Virginia and James Curtis.
First, I want to thank Bill, Joe, Rob, the other organizers of today's event for the opportunity to be here and speak with you. It's been very nice to hear so many wonderful comments about freedom today. I want to thank the speakers who've spoken and the singers who've entertained us so far, the speakers to follow, the organizers of today's event. It's my pleasure to be here to speak with you. Thank all of you for taking times out of your schedules to come out and join us today. It's appropriate that we talk about our rights today. No other nation has a history of respecting individual rights as we do. We should appreciate those freedoms and celebrate our nation's achievement towards securing liberty for all her citizens. But all too often, when discussing rights, the conversation devolves to the point where something similar to the following question is asked. Do you think so-and-so should be allowed to do such and such? Should be allowed. These are what I call the three most dangerous words in America. Because instead of celebrating the freedom we have and seeking ways to expand the enjoyment of our liberties, we all too often become engaged in petty, divisive dialogues over how our neighbors choose to exercise their freedom. Since we're celebrating Jefferson's words today, let's take a look at his discussion in the Declaration. Jefferson did not write, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they should be allowed life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." He wrote, and we celebrate today, that these are inalienable rights, not decided by our government, not decided by us or our neighbors. So let's take a quick look at these freedoms. Life speaks for itself. You have a right to your life, and no one has a right to take that from you except in self-defense. And the state can only deny you life as punishment for crimes so egregious that your very existence is a threat to those around you. Liberty. You have a right to come and go as you please, as long as you do not trespass on another's property. And again, the state can only deny your liberty as lawful punishment for your actions against another. The pursuit of happiness. You have the right to express yourself freely. From this, we develop the rights of free speech, free press, free assembly, and many others. To put it plainly, you have the right to do whatever you choose. Again, the only restriction being that your actions do not infringe upon the rights of anyone else. Let me be clear on this. You, I, and every person on this planet have the right to do whatever we choose, to pursue happiness however we choose, as long as we do not violate the rights of anyone else. Governments, as Jefferson wrote, are instituted among men to secure these rights. The only legitimate functions of government are those that protect individual rights. It's easy to look to other parts of the world, China, Iran, Venezuela, where the actions of government infringe upon rather than protect or promote individual freedom. But unfortunately, we don't need to look outside our borders for examples of this behavior. And all too often, the impetus for these actions is someone asking the question, should he be allowed to do that? Should a valedictorian be allowed to cite God or Jesus in her graduation speech? Or does she have the right to say whatever she chooses as long as she does not libel or slander anyone else? Should a patient be allowed to consume only the medicines approved by the FDA, or does he have the right to treat himself with whatever remedy he or his doctor prescribes? Should two consenting adults be allowed to have their marriage recognized by the state, or do they have the right to express their commitment to each other in whatever manner they choose? Should we be allowed to gather here today, or do we have the right to peaceably assemble and celebrate our freedom. I heard some hesitation out there, and I see some questions in some eyes, and that's the rub, so to speak. Sometimes our neighbor's pursuit of happiness results in an action that we find unusual or perhaps even offensive. But if we respect their right to pursue happiness and recognize their actions do not infringe upon the rights of anyone else, the only logical conclusion is to confirm that their actions are none of the government's nor anyone else's business. All too often, politicians seek to use these differences of opinion as a way to pit us against each other. Vote for me, and the government will grant you this right. Vote for me, and I'll make sure that they are not allowed to do that. Government does not create rights, nor should it pick and choose which citizens' rights will be respected. And in a free society, there is no they nor us. There is only we, the people. So it is incumbent on we, the people, to set the example for government yet again. We must be more cognizant and respectful of each other's rights. We must reject the notion that a fellow citizen's peaceful actions are something over which we or our elected officials have control. When someone asks you, do you think so-and-so should be allowed to do such and such? Respond as I often do, allowed by whom? And then let them know that we live in a free society where each citizen's right to pursue happiness must be respected, not in a nation where the government or even its citizens get to pick and choose which rights will be honored. And when some politician attempts to pit us one against the other, remind them that we are a nation that respects its citizens' rights. That is their duty, their fiduciary responsibility to act in the best interest of all citizens. And if they refuse to do so, we need to replace such politicians with ones who are more respectful of our rights. Thank you for your time today. I'll invite all of you to stop by the Jefferson Area Libertarian information table at the back. Also, I believe Bill's going to mention again, but make sure you stop by the Jefferson Tea Party information booth, get information about the next event. I look forward to seeing all of you again in the near future. Thank you.
I want to remind you also that it would not be a festival in the park without t-shirts and things like that available. There are t-shirts over here in the corner next to the ice cream, in amongst the pizza, and James and the hot dogs, and Brian and everybody at Bocelli's with the pizza. And let's hear it for Roger Swiker, the ice cream man out there manning the Chaps booth as well. I mentioned that...